We already know that Medicaid and creditors have the power to seize your assets. We're not going for that. So let's talk about how to protect yourself. What are we going to talk about? Trust. Trust are your tickets to generational wealth and asset protection. Trust can control your money, your property, all of your assets, all of everything you've ever built your entire life, all without government interference, while avoiding probate. You can even decide who gets what when you're long gone. A lot of people do not have trust because they think that they're for the rich people only. And that's not true. That's actually far from the truth. They're for smart people. And today we're going to go into trust, how to fund them, how to get one set up, and everything else. So a lot of wealthy people do not, in fact, pass down money as one may think. They pass down structure. The trust owns the business. The trust owns the properties. The trust owns assets. How is it funded? Several ways. One of them is through assets and the other one is through life insurance. And this is definitely going to be longer than 3 minutes, and you will have to watch this on my podcast episode or my YouTube. I will put both right here, but let's get started. What is probate? Probate is what happens when someone dies or passes away and they have a will, or they just don't have really much of anything in place, or they have kids and kids are fighting over it. Probate is what assets go through. That's what estates go through, and that's when the government gets involved, and that asset or the estate gets taxed, and then it gets divided out according to the will or any document put in place. How do trusts dictate who gets what, especially when you're dead and gone? Several ways, because you can be very, very detailed in your trust. You could say, well, my daughter is going to get this, this, and this, but she has to graduate college with this degree, and she cannot have a child out of wedlock, or that will eliminate her from this asset, and that will automatically go to the child that she's having. You get what I'm saying? So you have a lot of different ways to get in there and make sure that what you want to happen for your family happens. Is that control? Maybe, but this is literally how you ensure your bloodline is going to continue being successful and wealthy generation after generation. Trusts are also associated with tax benefits. Y'all know I file taxes. File with me. But anyways, there's a lot of tax advantages for a trust, and it depends on trust. So when we get further on in the conversation, I'll break down the tax advantages for that particular type of trust. Trusts prevent family conflict, especially when someone passed away, and especially when money is involved. People get weird as fuck when money is involved, or property. So this eliminates all of that because it's plain, it's in black and white, and they just have to show up to the attorney's office and get told what they get. Most importantly, this is asset protection. Once you put your assets into a trust, the creditors can't get them. Medicaid cannot get them as long as you're following the 5-year look back rule. But generally speaking, they are so protected that no one is going to be able to put their hands on them except for the people you delegate to. A will gives instructions. A trust gives power. Okay? So when you're measuring the two, trust is up here and wills are all the way down here. These are your main types of trust: revocable, irrevocable, dynasty, life insurance, and asset protection. And we're going to break them down one by one, so let's get started. Revocable living trust. This is one that you control. Revocable living trust. This is a trust that you control. This trust avoids probate, but the downside is it's not protected from lawsuits. An irrevocable trust. You do not control it. This has the strongest protection. This one is often paired with life insurance, and it's also great for tax planning. Dynasty trust. This one is not well known, and these can last 300 plus years and pass down generation to generation. They're used to avoid estate tax. Plain and simple. Your asset protection trust. They shield your properties from lawsuits. Better in states like Wyoming, Nevada, Delaware. Remember the video I had several months ago and we talked about what states you need to open your LLCs in? They're also really good for trust as well. Lastly, life insurance trusts. They hold life insurance outside of your taxable estate. They avoid estate tax, and they provide guaranteed liquidity for your heirs. So what do you put in a trust? How do you fund a trust? Let's talk about it. You put your assets in the trust. That is exactly how you fund it. Real estate, property, cars, businesses, crypto, brokerage accounts, intellectual property, LLC membership interest, and of course, life insurance. If you own it in your name, the government can touch it. If it's owned in your trust name, no one can. So speaking specifically into funding and getting into the details of how to actually do it. For real estate, you have to get a new deed title in the trust name. Alert your mortgage broker, your mortgage lender. They can't stop you, but it is good to let them know ahead of time. Ensure that your homeowner's insurance is up to date. That is exactly how you do it. You get the deed and you put it in the trust name instead of your name, so that way the trust is funded by that asset, by that property. How do you fund it with the bank account? You add the trust as being payable on death, or you can change ownership or do joint ownership, depending on the type of account and which bank it's with. Fund it with the business, you have to assign shares or membership interest, and it has to be effective on the operating agreement. And the most common way, and honestly the best way, is life insurance. There's 2 ways to fund it with life insurance. The first way is you make the trust a beneficiary on the life insurance policy. That's how you fund it. And that's also how you create your own bank that you hear about. And also, life insurance just isn't for the dead. As long as you pay into that and the type of policy it is, you could possibly withdraw that while you're still living as well. Number 2, you put the policy inside of a life insurance trust, the one that we mentioned earlier, which is stronger protection and harder for anyone to touch. It's better for taxes. And for brokerage and investment accounts, you just have to retitle the account. And also you would have to reach out because they may vary depending on what institution it's with, but they will be able to tell you. But usually you have to retitle the account. Why is life insurance the engine of generational wealth? The life insurance creates immediate liquidity. It funds the trust for generations. It covers any estate taxes. It allows you to pass down real estate without selling. And also provides guaranteed inheritance. So what type of policies are people getting? Wealthy families are getting anywhere from $1 million to $20 million life insurance policies. So whenever someone passes away and they have a life insurance policy on them and the trust is listed as a beneficiary, the trust gets the money, not any person. So it is funded appropriately. Then you can dictate, or the trust dictates, how the money is to be dispersed. Now this is the fun part. This can be a little bit tricky, but walk with me now. Rich people use trust differently. They layer trust. They get multiple trusts. You can pair your trust with your LLC. They use trustees instead of family, and they're building multi-generational instructions. I hit on that earlier, which is guaranteeing their family stays rich. Assets are usually locked for like over 100 years to keep the property in the family and to ensure that everything is going according to plan. They are also using mainly private trust companies. They eliminate probate entirely, and they distribute the wealth strategically, not off of emotion. The good shit. How do you start one? Pick revocable or irrevocable. Pick a trustee, someone you know, or a business, an LLC. You can get a draft started with an attorney. Where I'm at in South Carolina, it starts at $2,000, or there's templates for trust. You have to transfer your assets. That is how the trust gets funded. Because if you have an unfunded trust, it's not going to do anyone any good. Okay? You have to ensure it gets funded by transferring your assets and making sure you're transferring them correctly. The trustee that you assign has to have instructions. You have to create those instructions for the trustee. Put life insurance on it immediately. Put life insurance in your trust. And then you're on cruise control. Just update it annually or when there's any major life events. Now, I know this is a lot of information, but you have to take it in. If you want a checklist, a simple checklist, it's for free. All right, I hope this helps. Love you. Bye.